Well, hello there, over 20,000 beautiful watchers. It is very nice to see you. I am aware that I can't actually see you, I'm not a crazy person. On the advice of my fellow Channel Lawson producers, I decided to do a short Q&A video to celebrate this milestone. I posted it on Facebook with the addendum that I would only answer the questions with the most likes. These are the winners. Have you read or are you planning on reading Harry Potter and the Cursed Child? I read a bit, but I have to admit I kinda gave up on it. I will come back to it later, but I'm actually a little annoyed at myself for not having realised sooner that it wasn't actually written by J.K. Rowling, so it is literally just fanfiction she's given her seal of approval to. Your thoughts on the adaptations for V for Vendetta and The Killing Joke? Well, I quite enjoyed the V for Vendetta movie, but I'm afraid that's the only thing I can actually contribute here, as I've only skimmed the graphic novel for that so far, and in as far as The Killing Joke, I have neither seen nor read it yet, I'm afraid. I'm really not that into comic books, if I'm completely honest. I've got nothing against them, they're just not really my thing. My only real connection to the Marvel and DC universe at the moment is going to see the new films in the cinema, because they're really awesome. Well, at least the Marvel ones are. I've never really felt tempted to read up on what they're adapting, though. In the future, in regards to Lost in Adaptation, I will be doing some more graphic novel episodes if people still want to see them, as long as they're predominantly standalone. When it comes to long-running comics, I just don't think that's an option for me, because I just don't have the knowledge, the history of the thing, thing as a whole. So, yeah, and it's just not something I do in my spare time for fun, because it's just not what I'm into. What is the worst book you have ever read? It's actually really, really rare for me to read a book I don't like, not because I like everything, but because if I'm reading something and I'm not enjoying it, I will just throw it across the room and move on with my life. I feel no particular compulsion to finish what I've started, especially if it's annoying me. There's been a few books that I specifically read for Lost in Adaptation which I haven't personally cared for, but in those cases I could at least see why they'd be appealing to other people, so I can't consider them the worst thing I've ever read. The only book that really springs to mind for being, in my opinion, pretty fucking terrible, but I still read all the way through, is called Speaker for the Dead, which I believe is the direct sequel to Ender's Game. Whatever vestiges of subtlety Orson Scott Card may have had at some point were definitely gone when he wrote this book. I mean, he really leans into pushing his religious agenda and his apparent hardcore belief that the only way to be happy in life is to have children and pour everything you have into raising them. Any character in his book that chose to have a career or do anything other than have children is flat out miserable. And like any character who has children just says, fuck it, my job is just a job for money, they're the only ones that are happy. Scott just can't stop trying to push this belief in the book, and it drove me fucking mad. And on top of all that, I've never read anything with such vile, sanctimonious, hypocritical, uncompromisingly unlikable characters in my whole life than when I read this book. It's just, wow. What is your one book that you hope will never ever be adapted into a movie, and why this book in particular? Sorry, I don't have any one book in particular, I know you specified. I think I answered this in my last Q&A as well. What I have is the complete works of Terry Pratchett, or at least the ones that haven't already been defiled by those terrible straight-to-TV movies. I know this is a bit overboard, I do, but I strongly believe that Sir Terry Pratchett was the kind of creative genius that only comes around once every few generations, and any filmmaker who thinks he's talented enough to do justice to his stories is guilty in my eyes of the most arrogant disparity between ego and id that they're imaginable. No. You're not good enough for Terry Pratchett, I don't care who you are. Are you willing to do Lost in Adaptations for TV series adapting a book? Okay, I could be wrong, but I suspect I know where you're going with this. And the answer is a most definite maybe. How long does it take you to complete a Lost in Adaptation critique, and have you ever just given up and said, no, I can't bring myself to watch any story? Well, the time I budget for each video is 10 days, which takes into account the occasional day that I can't work on it for personal reasons. This is mainly because I need to reach at least a 3 video a month quota on Patreon to be able to continue doing this as my full-time job. Which is hard work, but this is my dream gig, so it's totes worth it. Videos will often overrun this schedule, but I can usually compensate by cutting down the time for the last video of the month if I really push myself. The Patreons or friends I've Skyped with towards the end of the month will probably have noticed the slightly panicked edge to my voice. I have refused to do some outright, although that list has gotten significantly shorter recently because the Patreon milestone saying I'll kill the Nevillist, which I thought I had set too high to ever reach, got reached, so Twilight. It's gonna be a thing. What are you like? Seriously? Miss Rebecca, at some point we're going to have a discussion about boundary issues, but seeing as it is my 20,000 subscriber celebration, I will release some footage, which may shed some light on this particular question.
Penguins.
Why is your nickname The Dom? Why did you choose it, and is there a story behind it? That's actually kind of an embarrassing story. I chose the pseudonym pretty much on a whim as I was making my audition video for Channel Awesome, and I swear on my life I'm not naive, but I genuinely didn't remember that the Dom is more commonly used to mean the dominatrix until Doug Walker made a joke about it when he was doing a video about me.
Hey guys, Doug Walker here talking about the Producer Spotlight. Today we are talking about the Dom. Now of course when you want to be the Dom you have to know the safe word.
Looking back, I had just finished a Scrubs marathon at the time, so it's possible I was influenced by the Todd, but I don't really remember anymore. If you could make an adaptation of a book into a film with a big budget, what would you do? Any ideas of cast or director if you didn't want to direct? I think the Sharp books by Bernard Cornwell definitely deserve a second chance at being adapted, and this time around I'd want them to start right at the beginning chronologically with the prequel novel set in India, maybe go all the way back to Sharp's Tiger. That would definitely need a huge budget to be adapted properly. In regards to the cast, I'd have to think long and hard about it. I'd probably want to bring in relatively lesser known people, so there's not like one big star that just takes over the whole movie. In regards to directing, obviously I'd love to do it myself, but obviously I don't have any past experience directing big budget movies, so it would be a bit ridiculous to expect to be able to do it just like naturally first time. I'd probably make a right mess out of it. I'd probably want to bring in, I know I can't pronounce his name, I think it's Miguel Sapochnik? He directed the Jizz in Your Pants amazing battle-themed episodes of Game of Thrones, so you know he's got game. And that's a wrap. Sorry, I did say it was going to be short. Listen, for real, I just cannot understate how much it means to me that 20,000 of you decided my channel was worthwhile. You guys really are the most beautiful watchers a guy could want, and I hope you continue enjoying the videos I love making. See you soon.